We are joined now by Ryan Rishaug, our Edmonton Oilers reporter. And Ryan, let's start right at the top. When it comes to the head coach, Jay Woodcroft, what's the situation surrounding him right now? I mean, we're only 10 games into the season. Is his job in jeopardy at all, do you think?
Yeah, I do, Laura, and I agree. It is early on in the season, and it seems odd to be talking about something this drastic already, but this team has Stanley Cup expectations, and they've shown nothing so far this season. So, unfortunately for Jay Woodcroft, and he knows this, it's a results-oriented business, and they've had no results so far. So, I do believe that this option is on the table. If 10 out of 10 is where you're at when you fire a coach, I'd put this in the 7.5 to 8 range. It is getting to be situation-critical time. And so they're heading out on the road trip. They've got a 3-game trip here. I think it's early right now, but they've got the Vancouver Canucks, they've got the San Jose Sharks, and the Seattle Kraken. They need to show something significant on this road trip, or there will be changes. And I think, it's early right now. We'll see what happens in the next couple of games in particular.
So let's go on the assumption now. Yes, this 3-game road trip. You've got Woodcroft firmly in place still as the head coach. How do they kind of go about this change and get things back on track? I mean, is it something as simple as just switching up the lines or perhaps some personnel movements when it comes to the special team units?
Yeah, those are options that are at his disposal. And I think in fairness to Jay Woodcroft, it's important to point out here that he has shown the ability to turn this group around. If you remember, Laura, when he arrived, I mean, this team was in the dumpster big time. And he figured out the proper buttons to push and the levers to pull to get them turned around. Last year, their second segment of 10 games, I think they won 3 games in that segment, and he turned that around as well. And I think management has to be taking that into account. He's shown that he can find solutions. He needs to find them quickly. What are they? You mentioned them, right? Moving some guys around the lineup a little bit. It's probably time to separate McDavid and Draisaitl. They've been playing together on a line as he tries to just sheer force of will this team into some offense. Well, Draisaitl doesn't have a goal in 7 games. McDavid, it's now 5, which is unimaginable for these two. So I think some lineup tweaks are definitely an option. Or Ken Holland can try and find a trade. They have no cap space. It'll be really difficult to do, but can you shake it up, bring a new body in, try and shake up the group a little bit? Those are all options that are at their disposal.
Because you're right. It's such a rare situation that we're seeing right now with both Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl struggling offensively, and the goals just aren't coming. And yeah, that's great to kind of separate them, but what are you seeing from them right now? Is it a case of they're just kind of gripping their sticks a little too tight these days?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to both of them in the last 24 hours. Connor McDavid talked about his game last night. He didn't go into a lot of detail about it, but just admitted that it's not up to his standard. With McDavid, one of the questions I have about McDavid is if he's healthy. We know that he's been dealing with something this year. He missed games, right? We know that. But is it lingering? I've noticed in his hands, doesn't seem to be handling the puck in quite the same way, and not quite as much on his shot. We saw on the face-off circle, he was dominated in their last game, badly. And, excuse me, so for McDavid, I wonder if there isn't something there. We asked him, and he said he's fine. Of course, that's what he's going to say. Draisaitl, it's a little bit different. Like, Draisaitl doesn't have he's got 1 even-strength goal this year. I mean, for Leon Draisaitl's normal production, that's not even in the ballpark. So I think there's some frustration that's creeping into Draisaitl's game a little bit. His passing has been off this year. We've seen him turning more pucks over. His one-timer hasn't quite had the same accuracy. So do the best players in the world suffer confidence dips? Maybe. It would explain where both of them are right now, because we don't see stretches like this with these two players, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season, right? You're playing 82 regular season games. The peaks and the valleys are going to come. It's just problematic when it's right now and you're a 2-7-1 team at the moment. You were down at practice today, Ryan. What's the mood surrounding this team right now? Is this a frustrated group?
They're frustrated, and people on the outside might think that, guys would be slamming sticks and yelling at each other and, getting into scraps and stuff. They're doing everything they can not to let that negativity seep in. So I walked in and, the group was out on the ice early. A bunch of them were out early. McDavid was out early working on his shots. Guys put in a little bit of extra time right now because they're trying to find solutions. They did some drills earlier on in practice that were a little more fun in nature. Guys were laughing. Like, the answer is not to put a 1,000-pound anvil on everyone's chest and say, now do better. So the effort is there to try and keep the group light and keep the group feeling okay. But how do you do that while also sending the message that it's completely unacceptable what's happened? And that is a head coach's needle to try and thread, right? That's what Jay Woodcroft and the leadership group have to do. So they're trying to stay light. but it's extremely tense times and so frustrating for them, Laura. Like, there is no question they're a frustrated group because they have not had a toehold at all this season. It started with an 8-1 embarrassment to the Canucks. Then they lost again to the Canucks. Like, they have not put back-to-back games together. And for this group, that is monumentally frustrating.
Yep, they only have 2 wins this season so far. Only one team has fewer, that being the San Jose Sharks. A big goose egg for the Sharks. And again, that's one of the teams the Oilers will see on this 3-game road trip. Ryan Rishaug, our Edmonton Oilers reporter, thanks for joining us.